You know, if you ever wanted to watch a movie where Tom Hardy is just eating food really violently, this movie's gonna give that to you. That's what we really need. Hello Internet, my name is Ace, and today let's talk about Venom. So right off the bat, I'm going to start by saying that I was a bit skeptical when this film was first announced because Venom is a Spider-Man villain, and Spider-Man's kind of preoccupied at the moment with the MCU, and Sony's trying to do its own thing by having a universe filled with just Spider-Man villains, and while that is admirable, this is the film that's going to determine whether or not that's actually going to happen. And for the most part, it does a pretty good job. The relationship between Venom and Eddie Brock, portrayed by Tom Hardy, is one of the strongest parts of this movie. Their back and forth between one another, very solid indeed, and it really carries this film. And that's a good thing. That's a really great thing, because everything else about this movie just wasn't that good. In terms of the narrative, this film really doesn't stand out from every other superhero film that we've been getting lately. It doesn't do anything to make us see how this film is unique or how this film is different. The villain in this film was very underdeveloped. Reid Ahmed, he tries very hard to be a compelling villain. He's just not. He's just kind of like the leader of this shady science corporation thing, and we've seen that 100 times before in movies. It's just not that interesting. It was very predictable. He didn't stand out at all. When he did have scenes, it was just like I kind of tolerated him being there. And I could appreciate the actor did a lot of work to try and make himself compelling. It just didn't sell with me. Michelle Williams, her dynamic with Tom Hardy, they didn't really have that much chemistry together. And her character just wasn't that interesting to me. And the writing in this film is really what holds it back from being what it could be. Venom has always been either an anti-hero or a villain, and for the most part he's been a villain, but he's always been a compelling character for me. In the old animated Spider-Man series, he was very interesting to watch. In the video games where he shows up, he's always been an interesting character, and there's a lot of source material that the writers could have pulled from in the comics or in the shows or whatever to make Venom a lot more interesting in this movie. And it's like they chose not to do it, because the story in this film just really was basic. It wasn't anything new. It wasn't special in any way. So why did I enjoy this film? I know this film is bad. I know this film isn't good at all. By any means, this film is a mess. It really is. It's a mess in terms of its writing. It's a mess in terms of some of the acting. Even the CG wasn't as good as it could have been. But I still really found myself having a lot of fun with this film, even though I knew it was bad. Like, I personally really love good movies. I love when writers take the time to flesh out the story and to make a story compelling and make it interesting for us to watch. But I also like my trash. I also really enjoy watching movies that are just complete, utter garbage. Not that this movie is utter garbage. It's not complete trash. I really enjoy this film, and I can understand why people would like this film. But I also really understand why people hate this film. And from the news that I've been reading, this film is doing really well at the box office, so we're going to be getting a sequel, I'm pretty sure. And that's fine with me, because honestly, this movie was really entertaining, even though it was bad. Like, Spider-Man 3 is trash. It is not good by any means. Spider-Man 3 was terrible. But I still watch the Blu-ray. I still own the Blu-ray, and I watch it a lot more times than I like to admit, because that movie is ridiculous. And that's the same with Venom, really. This movie isn't something that takes itself too seriously. I think they were fully aware that the writing just wasn't up to par with what fans want, but they still gave me something to enjoy watching. This movie is a really good popcorn flick. It's the type of movie that you just watch, you know, you can turn off your brain for a while or two and just enjoy a pretty fun film. And frankly, even though I know they could have done better, this film still gave me a pretty good experience. Tom Hardy does a really solid job as Eddie Brock. There are times where he overacts, where he's just going insane and he's just jittering and like going wild, and people are looking at him like he's completely crazy, because he kind of is. He's going a bit overboard sometimes. In some of the scenes he just goes completely overboard. A lot of the times it worked for me, but there was a scene at a restaurant where he's just going insane. Like, he's just eating raw lobster. Like, that scene was a bit too much for me. And that's something that can be said about this film. Sometimes this film can be a bit too much. But even though he has those moments, as a character, he was pretty entertaining. He was witty, and I liked watching him on screen. He doesn't seem like a very good reporter, though. He's supposed to be a reporter or something, and he doesn't really sell to me as a really good reporter. He doesn't seem that professional, but that's not that important. Eddie Brock was fine. Venom was hilarious. He was a lot more entertaining than I thought he was going to be. He was funny. He was making jokes with Eddie Brock. I really enjoyed the dynamic between the two of them. They really got Venom and Eddie Brock right in this film. There's one line Venom says in this film. It was like something along the "In my planet, I'm kind of a loser, just like you." And I thought that was really nice. It added a lot to the Venom character. The action was really good too. Especially the first action scene where Eddie Brock is just wasting these dudes left and right. And he's not even full Venom yet. He's not in the full Venom form. But Venom is just like sprouting out of him and taking care of dudes. It reminded me of Upgrade, the first fight scene in Upgrade, or all of the fight scenes in Upgrade, where the character in that movie was just being controlled by the computer that's inside of him. It's kind of like that with Venom, with the action scenes that they were doing. But when Tom Hardy goes full Venom, it was really fun to watch. Venom looks really good, even though sometimes the CG just wasn't as good as it could have been. But a lot of the times in the movie, Venom looks great. He looks really solid, and the action was really good. He felt really strong. You could really feel the weight of his attacks. Even though this film is PG-13, it's PG, and it could have been rated R. It should have been rated R because Venom is a pretty violent character. And if it was rated R, the action would have been that much better, because there's one fight scene in this film where, like, Venom is just taking out a big group of dudes. But it's PG-13, so what's he do? He just takes them out one by one, covered in smoke. And it just took a lot away from the film. The final fight was really good too, even though it did look like just two pieces of slime attacking one another. One question I ask myself when I'm watching a movie is, am I having a good time watching this film? And quite frankly, I was. If I had to give this movie a grade, I'd say at least watch it once, take the time to watch it. Even though it's bad, it's like a good popcorn flick. You can just watch it with your friends or with your family. It's not something to take too seriously, and I think even the writers were aware that you shouldn't take this film that seriously. Just enjoy it for what it is. Personally, I'm going to buy this on the Blu-ray because I think it's really fun. Like, I'm going to watch this film again. I'm pretty sure I am. So that's going to do it for this review. I hope you liked it. If you want to see more, subscribe to my channel. If you like the video, like the video. If you don't like the video, like it anyway. And as always, remember, never forget to stay nerdy.